Thank you, David, for joining us today. This is our new video in the Skunks Talk Tech series. Today we're talking to David from PlusZero. Currently, it is during COP26 right now, so David is actually in our office at the South Rotunda at Malin. David works for PlusZero, as I said before, and they are supplying us with a hydrogen generator during the conference. David, if you could give a little bit of background about yourself and PlusZero and what you're doing just now.
Yeah, no, thanks, Fergus, and a mighty fine office you do have here. I'd have to say the South Rotunda is fantastic. So I'm David Amos. I'm managing director of PlusZero. PlusZero is a new Scottish clean power startup. We're based in Harris in the Western Isles, where we produce the green hydrogen that we use to fuel the generators that we provide, and we're focused on decarbonising the outdoor events industry, which is a major user of diesel generators, which is really the backbone of the power supply for outdoor events. But unfortunately, they produce lots of carbon and lots of pollution. So PlusZero provides a clean power alternative to portable diesel generators. And we've just finished a successful, as you mentioned, Fergus, a very successful week of powering the venue that Malin had set up for your Spotlight series that's running during COP. So it was great to have an opportunity to partner with Malin Group, because you were all talking about promoting clean shipping and offshore wind, and we were providing a clean power solution for that. So it was some great synergies there.
Yeah, it was great.
We were opposite the main blue zone in COP26.
Exactly,
so we had the hydro.
It was a great photo opportunity, as well. It was great. I'd been down a few days and I'd seen the generator all set up and everything, and quite amazing going by how little noise coming from it. I was quite surprised from it as well. But it's it was quite amazing to see. How long has PlusZero been running?
So yeah, we started kind of sort of operation in May of this year. I had spent about 18 months prior to that, looking into the opportunities around hydrogen and clean power and the kind of industries that might be interested. So that took a bit of time to work out where the best early adopter market might be for the kind of solution. So that was why we focused on outdoor events. From the performers like Coldplay and U2 and Massive Attack, they've all been talking a lot about reducing their carbon footprint in touring, and so audiences themselves are keen to be more sustainable. So the operators, the events operators, are having to respond to that. So there was clearly a real appetite to adopt an alternative to diesel generators, and a willingness to pay a little bit extra, because at this stage in the game, the technology, particularly the hydrogen, is a bit more expensive than diesel. But so we're running a series of demonstrations, and we're kind of pre-commercial phase at the moment. The COP26 events, we're in the middle of that. We finished that off at Edinburgh's Hogmanay at the year end, and we started at Edinburgh International Festival in August, where we powered Anna Meredith and Damon Albarn shows with Edinburgh International Festival. So it's been a lot of fun so far, and fingers crossed it's all going well to date.
Yeah, that's great. So a few people might be watching or listening to this interview and not really know much about hydrogen, maybe heard of it before and understand it is a cleaner alternative. Can you really describe the difference, and maybe just dip into a tiny bit of the science behind it, of like why hydrogen is so much better than running a diesel generator, for example?
Yeah, no, I'm pleased to do that. And it really depends where the hydrogen comes from as to whether or not it is any better than a diesel genset. So right now, if you went to BOC or Air Liquide or whatever and asked to buy hydrogen, from your traditional gas sellers, the hydrogen that you get is what's called grey hydrogen. So it's actually produced from natural gas, goes through a process called steam methane reformation, and it creates hydrogen, but also a lot of CO2. So
essentially that's producing hydrogen, but using fossil fuel. So it's not using renewable to produce the hydrogen.
Exactly, Fergus. Yeah, so you can't claim in any way that using grey hydrogen is any different to using fossil fuels, because it's produced from fossil fuels. So the hydrogen that we use is what's called green hydrogen. So that's produced using a renewable energy source, and in our case, it's onshore wind in the Western Isles. So you take the electricity from a renewable source, you put it into what's called an electrolyzer. You might remember that from your school chemistry days. But basically, an electrolyzer splits water into oxygen and hydrogen. We capture the hydrogen and compress it and use it as a fuel. The oxygen we will also be capturing for uses in fish farming and the like. But so that's green hydrogen. Scotland has a huge opportunity to be at the kind of forefront of green hydrogen because we've got so much renewable energy potential, and to be the Scottish government have quite rightly identified that as a real opportunity for Scotland. Blue hydrogen is sort of somewhere in the middle. So the idea is that you can produce hydrogen from natural gas, but then capture the carbon dioxide that's produced and pump that. I think in Scotland's case, it would be pumped back under the North Sea and stored there. So you see a lot of the oil majors are showing a lot of interest in blue hydrogen because it potentially creates a market for natural gas going forward. And I think there's going to be some demonstration projects to try and prove that can work. But I say we focus on the green hydrogen side.
So do you have a dedicated site where you collect your green hydrogen? Do you work off of a certain wind farm or something like that in Harris, or is it?
So we will have our electrolyzers in Lewis,
on Lewis.
and at the moment we have a small scale electrolyzer. We're working in partnership with the Western Isles Council. They had an electrolyzer facility just outside Stornoway, and their electrolyzer broke down about 18 months ago, and they haven't been able to produce any hydrogen since. So we've located an electrolyzer on that site. We tap into some wind from a curtailed turbine that's on that site. And then in addition, we can also use the council have a big biodigester where all of the household organic and waste goes into. That gets converted into methane by the microbes in the biodigester, and then they capture the methane and run it through a gas engine that then produces electricity. So it rather than releasing the methane, which is pretty terrible for the environment, they convert it back into electricity and CO2, which is a lot better. And so we can also tap into renewable electricity from that gas engine if required when the wind isn't blowing. So so that's our short-term solution, but we're in the process of raising funding to build 10 megawatt of electrolyzer capacity on the Arnish site, which is a big, very large industrial zone outside Stornoway, which has been identified as a major hub for green hydrogen production. So we intend to start scaling up production on that site, and that will really provide the hydrogen that we need to really push hard into to decarbonize the outdoor events, because right now it's very difficult to get green hydrogen anywhere in the UK.
So, could you put it into any terms that we could see to produce, how much hydrogen would you need to can you produce from the site? So, for example, for powering our R10, the Spotlight Series at COP26, like how much wind energy would we need to produce to create enough hydrogen to power that?
So we used about 60 kilos of hydrogen for your event. So that probably would have taken, I'm going to do a quick calculation.
Fast math, sorry.
Yeah,
Dropping that
here. So you're that probably took several hundred kilowatt hours of renewable energy to produce. And to put it into context, that 60 kilograms, we calculate that the UK outdoor events industry uses 90,000 tons, or would they use the equivalent of 90,000 tons of hydrogen if they were to replace all of the diesel generators they use. The 10 megawatts of electrolyzer capacity that we are talking about building in the Western Isles would produce somewhere between 600 and 700 tons per annum. So,
wow, that's good.
So there would need to be a lot more investment in that green hydrogen production to support the complete decarbonisation of that industry, and a lot more to support the decarbonisation, say, of heavy transport.
No, of course.
But Scotland has got that ambition, and so we think we'll see very significant investments in green hydrogen production in Scotland going forward. So.
Yeah, that's good. So you'd mentioned Edinburgh Council before. So do you work specifically with any partners other than?
Yeah, partnership has been really crucial for us to really help accelerate things moving forward. And with Malin Group itself, that was a partnership in supporting your event and creating an opportunity for us, which we've been really pleased with the willingness of event organisers to work with us. Edinburgh International Festival as well, and in the August event. And so the Western Isles Council, we are a very important partner for us because they've allowed us to use their facility. They are the backers of the Arnish site, and they're supporting the development of that site for green hydrogen production. So there's a kind of key role for public sector in supporting new companies like us. But on the technical side as well, we've been really got a lot of great support from Logan Energy, who are probably certainly Scotland's main hydrogen engineering systems integration firm based at Wallingford outside Edinburgh. So they've provided us with a lot of technical input and support, which has been invaluable. CMB.tech, which is the company that does the hydrogen engine conversion that we use for the generators, again, been great support to us and provided the initial genset to us for the demonstrations. And then Abbott Risk Consulting, who do all of the risk management, safety assurance work. So yeah, there's a whole range of partners in the mix there that have, without whom we couldn't have done things as quickly as we can. But I think we need to decarbonise quickly, as everybody's saying in COP. We've got a climate emergency on our doorstep, and I think collaboration is going to be really important to try and make sure that we move fast enough. Competition will come, but collaboration is what we need to do more of just now.
What do you think are the main barriers to scaling up and going forward? Because right now it's you've said it's demonstrations that we're doing and things. So what do you think are the barriers before Clean Power Solutions will be able to be hired out by anyone who wants to use them?
So probably the main barrier is going to be that green hydrogen supply. So we'll be held back next year in terms of how much we can do by our ability to access green hydrogen. We can only produce so much ourselves in the Western Isles until we get the bigger investment up and running. we're partnering with the European Marine Energy Centre in Orkney, so we're hoping that they've just made an investment in a new electrolyser that we will be able to source some additional green hydrogen from them next year, because we're very keen to support that sort of island development of green hydrogen production. But that's going to be I think the main barrier, Fergus, for probably the next 12 to 18 months. The generator technology is there, it works, and it's certainly the route that we went down is hydrogen combustion. The alternative is to use what are called fuel cells, which are in effect electrolyzers in reverse. You put hydrogen and oxygen from the air into a fuel cell, and it produces electricity and water out the other end. So. Right. That technology is what's being used in some of the bus deployments that in places like Aberdeen and Glasgow. At the moment, it's a lot more expensive than the combustion engine that we use. So we take a high-tech petrol engine. It is converted by CMB Tech, and it runs on 100% hydrogen. It's not much less efficient than a fuel cell. It's about 40% efficiency versus 50% efficiency in a fuel cell, but it's 10 times cheaper. So we can provide a generator at the same cost as a diesel generator, and we can produce these as quickly as anybody could want to use them. So it's the hydrogen supply that will be the limiting factor for certainly next year.
Is there any legislation that's kind of hindering anything as well, or because I can imagine some people essentially thinking, I don't really want to have a big load of hydrogen beside my tent stuck outside. Is there any legislation that's had to be changed to be able to start using hydrogen at events, or?
Not from that sort of safety side. I mean, hydrogen is just another flammable gas like propane, butane, which are used across a whole range of things. So we just follow the same safety protocols. Hydrogen has some unique properties which require you to, bring in additional elements. But it is actually in some ways a safer gas than others because it is such a tiny atom. It's the smallest atom in the periodic table, if you remember your chemistry. So it dissipates so quickly in the event of a leak. But there are well-established safety protocols that we put in place and follow. Actually, interestingly, one of the barriers, although I think the UK government has finally cottoned on to it and are going to do something about it, is that hydrogen still isn't licensed as a fuel for use in this type of equipment. So it's all right for demonstration type activity.
So it's technically a prototype.
Yeah, but we need to get the Department of Transport to change the legislation to certify hydrogen as a fuel for the kind of applications that we are doing. Now, they've suddenly woken up because the UK government themselves have been talking about all the things they're going to do with hydrogen, and they've realised that if we don't get a move on,
we can't use it.
we're going to be the blockers. So that should get resolved in the next few months, we think. But on the health and safety side, we've engaged very, very well and very successfully with Fire Scotland and the council health and safety teams. So. And that was part of the reason why Scottish Government have supported these demonstrations, is that we are kind of breaking new ground a bit here and using hydrogen in these city centre environments for the first time. So that's creating a learning curve for everybody. But so far everybody has been very supportive and worked with us to make sure that things can be deployed safely and people are comfortable with it. We had a few of the police teams coming up and asking us at your site saying, "Oh, what's this here, guys? What would happen if protesters climbed over and then started trying to cause trouble?" But we said, well, it would be surprising if they wanted to do any trouble here, because this is the solution that they're, they're wanting to see. But
But that's good. That you've covered everything that I wanted to ask you. That was great, David. Thank you so much for your time today, and obviously for your time like helping us at COP as well to put a bit more presence around this. It's a great thing to have seen.
Well, no, thanks to you, Fergus, and your colleagues, Chris and Helner. No, we've been delighted to be part of this, and yeah, as you say, showcase that there's technology here and now that can support the decarbonisation. So no, delighted to be part of it.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, and I'll just speak to you soon, and remind everyone that you can find links to all the videos online and previous videos on the Malin Skunks website and on our YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much, David. I'll thank you again. I'll speak to you soon.